Hey everyone, I'm Angel and this is my presentation and final assignment. It's going to be called Growing Plants on Mars, The Real Science Behind the Martian by Angel Todd. So I chose this topic because I found it really interesting on the Martian. Just the idea of having to survive on another planet and the way that Watney was able to use his resources to pretty much like start farming on Mars. Um, and the movie made it look like it was a possibility, so I just wanted to see what the said behind that. So my presentation will kind of get into like the main details of how that could be a possibility for us. So the obvious challenges of growing plants on Mars would be the lack of soil, lack of nutrients in soil, limited water as a source, very thin atmosphere, like the lack of oxygen, extreme temperatures, and radiation. The first study that I ended up coming upon that basically talked about if it were a possibility for us to grow plants on Mars and had some science to back up like different experiments and stuff that they were able to do to just figure out what we could grow on Mars. They tested tomatoes, rye, garden cress, and it was on soil similar to what the circumstances would be on Mars. And they learned that most of the plants that they did end up planting did grow, and they even produced seeds. Soil lacked nitrogen and didn't hold water well, but they were still able to produce like some source of farming. The next study that I looked at, it was basically a study where they were trying to figure out an alternative for the oxygen problem. They found that seeds did need oxygen to sprout, and based on the Mars atmosphere with almost no oxygen, that they would need to come up with a way to like basically counteract that. They created something called an oxygen releasing polymer, and if you look on YouTube, you can kind of see what that looks like. But they found that that actually helped seeds germinate and improved water retention, and that that could potentially be an option to increase the likelihood of farming on Mars. So the challenges that they're still having, long-term soil fertility, radiation effects, water efficiency, reduced gravity, better systems like hydroponics and like other like closed loop habitats to kind of protect the crops. Those are the ones that they could see as potential issues that they still would need to solve. And so that's like a little bit more research that would need to be done. So based on my research and my final project, and then now this, pretty much the future outlook for farming on Mars. Martian farming may be a possibility within the future missions, and research is moving from like instead of it just being an idea to an engineering problem. So it definitely is a possibility that we could potentially have farming on Mars if we ever get to that point. And I think that's a wrap, but sorry, I kind of talked a little bit fast on that, guys. Hope you enjoyed.